Well, good evening, folks, and to another edition of TNT Thursdays. Sean Fortier is with us. Steve Shaw, yeah, baby. James Shembry. We're going to be having James on and Got to Bite next week, so stay tuned to that. Mike's in the house. How you doing, Mike? Hope you liked your Walleye Wednesday feature. Brad Frost, I'll be calling you right after this live broadcast to talk about what's upcoming with the CFN cook-off. We talked about the fish off on Tuesday, and we'll be talking about it in the upcoming days and weeks leading up to what we hope is going to be the start. Unfortunately, we got some bad news. It was kind of expected here in Ontario. Folks outside of Ontario, have you thought about possibly running the CFN fish off without the province of Ontario? Well, we wouldn't want to do that. We don't want to exclude anybody. But have we thought about perhaps maybe starting it earlier for provinces outside of Ontario? Yes, we have definitely thought about that. But in the meantime, we want everybody to be able to partake. We don't want to exclude a soul, an individual, a group, a province, an area, territory, no one. We want everybody to partake in the CFN fish off, especially all 140 teams that have registered. Oh yeah, baby. And invite you to stay tuned tonight because Mike Consul will be talking to our provincial ambassador, Cliff Moores, out in BC later this evening in regards to how we're going to address the concerns of our BC folk and their Chinook salmon out on the West Coast. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns in regards to how fragile that fishery is currently right now. But here in Ontario, it is what I would consider in good shape. We're going to find out more because we have two guests that are coming on. If you love chasing chrome, these lads are the ones you want to listen to. One's been doing it for a very long time. One has been doing it for not that long, but he's certainly gained a lot of knowledge because he has a great inner group of people who are helping him. And he's got a fantastic product that he's going to be telling us all about tonight. So we're looking forward to that. David's in the house. How you, David? David Speaker. Finally got that right. Enzo. There's a name I haven't seen before. Enzo, how you doing, my friend? Bill Maftruck's in the house. Yeah, baby. Good to see you. And I would like to take this opportunity in regards to our legacy members. We have one that is celebrating a very special day and night. Mark Beeler. It's his birthday. So I invite everybody to wish Mark Beeler a happy birthday. And for all he does for our CFN community and our team legacy, this one's for you, buddy. It isn't the hard stuff. It isn't a wobbly pop, but it goes down just the same. Here's to you, Mark. Thanks so much for doing this. And before we get to our first guest, Anthony Wood, here is a small video that we put together. I think we put it on for Monday. It didn't work out so well. So I jigged it a little bit, put it on one of this side as opposed to that side. Let's play it now. Never mind me explaining this.
Very cool.
So, Anthony, what the audience couldn't hear was me singing along to the video. It was supposed to be audio and a little bit of music to that, but unfortunately, you're going to have to use your imaginations. I could hear it, but our audience couldn't, so I apologize for that. But, Anthony?
I thought it was pretty cool. Thanks for putting that together.
Dude, listen, it's been an honor to have you a part of Team CFN, but really, this is the first time you and I are meeting, and we have a lot to get caught up on. First and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in the GTA, started fishing with my father at a really, really young age. We had a tradition growing up going to the sportsman show every year on my birthday. And my favorite thing to do at the sportsman show when I was a little kid was go to the trout pond. And so since then, I was literally hooked on fishing. My dad used to take me out. We used to do a lot of different types of fishing. Started out fishing in the Kawarthas with them and Simcoe with the family. And then eventually we started getting into steelhead. Did a lot of fishing up in the Nottawasaga. And as I got older, picked up a boat and just started learning all the opportunities that are out there out in this area here. And there's, we really have an amazing fishery and with so many different opportunities. And with the internet exploding, I just tried to learn as much as possible and try all different things. And it was really, really cool. And got into the salmon game probably in 2000 after booking a charter. Actually, I booked a charter back in 2006 on the Niagara River with one of the local guides there, and they were saying, if you love steelhead, you got to come out and try spring kings. And my dad and I picked up a boat, and we went out there and trolled in a tiller. We were in a 16-foot tiller. We trolled with planer boards and just flatlined some crankbaits. It was around this time of year, it was in April, and I caught my first king. And we had bass tackle at the time, so it was we were not prepared for what the power behind these giant fish that we have swimming in Lake Ontario. So it was really, really cool experience. And basically since then I've been hooked on salmon fishing. That was probably back in, I don't know, say 2008, maybe 2006, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I just love it.
Well, listen, we've been flying the banner quite proudly for
I've been seeing that. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I see my banner's a little bit larger than yours. Just so you know, Anthony, I know a guy. If you need a bigger one, I'll put you in touch with him.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna
but tell us a little bit about this, because I think there's a lot of us who may target salmon out on Lake Ontario, or who may not, who know nothing about what this product is, how it can help them when it comes to targeting this fish, and number 3, how we get a hold of it.
Yeah, so the product that I came out with was just honestly through experimentation and trial and error, and going out there and fishing and learning and just reading a lot and just trying to learn as much as possible about salmon fishing. And I found that, also attending seminars. Shane put on some seminars. I love watching the Grimsby Tackle seminars that they put on. Also down in Niagara Fishing Expo, there's the Lake Ontario United, which is it's an online message forum. They basically put on this Niagara Fishing Expo show, and they had captains from all over Lake Ontario speak for a day, and you'd go in and you'd basically just pick their brains, and they do a presentation on how they fish and how just stuff about salmon fishing to teach beginners like myself, and to even experienced people, to just teach them little bits and tricks. So anyways, through all this process, I eventually learned that, a lot of people don't know this, but the fish that are in Lake Ontario, the bait fish that are in Lake Ontario that the salmon feed on, they're actually called alewife. It's similar to a type of herring. It's a freshwater herring, and it's actually the reason why salmon are in the Great Lakes. So back in the 60s, there was a doctor in Lake Michigan that was doing a lot of studies on the lake. And back in the day, the Great Lakes were heavily populated with lake trout, and then lampreys invaded into the Great Lakes and killed off a whole bunch of lake trout. And what ended up happening was there was an imbalance within the Great Lakes, causing the alewife population to skyrocket. And so there was actually so many alewife in the lake that they were washing up on shore, and it was causing a big problem for municipalities and beaches, because they would die, they would smell, they would rot on the beach. And so the scientists in in Lake Michigan, was trying to figure out a way to help with that, help balance that, and bring that population down, and also create an industry, which is what exactly he did. So he introduced coho salmon into Lake Michigan, and eventually they introduced Chinook salmon into Lake Michigan. And because of all these bait fish, the salmon that they introduced from the West Coast flourished within the Great Lakes, and what it created. I think it's like $1 billion industry, billions of dollars, millions of dollars, like tons of money, a huge industry that was never there before, because of these alewife that were in the lake. And so I created this product because I couldn't find what they were actually eating in the market. All the other cut bait available in the market right now is not from Lake Ontario; they're foreign, so it doesn't exist in Lake Ontario. So Pacific herring does not exist in Lake Ontario. Ballyhoo does not exist in Lake Ontario. So that was one of the reasons why I really kind of dug in and tried to figure out how I could make a product using alewife. And I wasn't trying to make a product. I was actually just trying to catch more fish. And when I ended up finding these alewives and figuring out the whole process, it was just night and day. The fishing, it was unbelievable. It's matching the hatch. It's exactly what they eat. It's like fishing in the fall. If anyone steelheads here, you fish with trout eggs or brown trout eggs or salmon eggs. Like some certain days that's what they want. That's what they're eating. That's what you're gonna catch them on. And so it's kind of the same analogy here with the alewives. So it's exactly what they're eating. The bait was working so well. Had a bunch of friends just reach out and say, hey, like you should really do something with this. This is a great product, and you should do something with it. So that's kind of what I did. I was just trading people on the dock for different things, and eventually it evolved to a brand. And so I don't know.
No, that was brilliant. And we've got the one and only Big Jim joining us. Howdy to you, Big Jim.
Hey, Jim. I love your newspaper, your magazine.
Yeah, baby. Just fishing. Yes, absolutely. And I will say this: we are partial to Jim McLaughlin as we are to your product. We're not here to say necessarily that one is better than the other. Some will work just as well. But it only makes sense that the bait fish or the forage base in which these fish are targeting would make sense to produce a product that they in turn would be interested in. It's not to say that they won't go after herring or any other kind of product that's out there, but it only kind of makes sense that alewife, which is what they have historically gotten to know, is a forage base in which they will target. And you have this product, because it's I don't even know if that word does it justice, but this product has evolved. And while you explain some of the options that you have glow, you have UV, you've got all different things that you've done to this product to make it even better than just the alewife alone. Tell us about sort of the timeline and how that all came to be.
Yeah, so started off, so there's some picture of the glow and how that happened. So honestly, like as a salmon fisherman, we're literally waking up we're waking up in the middle of the night to make sure that we get to the water in the dark. And everyone knows that magic hour, like right at the beginning of the day, is just, it's lights out. And in those low light conditions, there's a lot of glow lures, glow flashers, spin doctors, spoons that everyone uses in those low light conditions. And so I was thinking, how do I make the cut bait, the natural cut bait that we started off with and we're doing so well with, how do we make that glow? And so through a lot of experimentation, we figured out a process to make it glow. We're the only ones in the world that are doing this, which is really, really cool. There's people that are picking it up across the Great Lakes. We actually had some people pick it up in Seattle, Washington last week, which was really, really cool. Oregon, the West Coast now through your help and through some of the through Cliff, who's going to be on the show in a little bit. He helped us get out there. Cliff has tried the product. He loves it, loves the product out there. So I'm really, really happy to hear that he loves the product. But yeah, so that's kind of how it evolved. I mean, at the end of the day, the stuff works really well. It catches a lot of fish, and that's kind of how we got started. I'll tell you a little bit about the brand and what it means, and the big one. So back when all this was happening and this was beginning, I didn't know what I was going to call it. I had no idea. I didn't even know I was going to be doing this until people were like, "Hey, you got to do this. Put it out there. Like, see if you can get it into some stores." And at the time, my father was he got sick really quickly, and he ended up passing away, unfortunately. And it was something that my dad and I always did growing up, is going out fishing and salmon fishing too, and we both loved it so much. And so I asked my brother-in-law, who's a children's book artist. He's an amazing artist, so talented. I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, like, can you make me a logo? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, just make it a picture of Dad and make him, holding a fish, and I want to call it the big one, because my dad's name was Gordon. And if you're trying to figure out what to call the bait, so I just searched El Gordo, and it's if you search that in Google, you'll see that it comes up, the top prize, the big one. There's the number one prize is like a lottery down in Mexico as well. So it's really, really cool. And gordo in Latin and in Spanish is a term of endearment for like a chubby or like a bigger like kid, or dad, like you call him gordo. And it's a term of endearment. So anyways, it's literally his name. So like for me, it's like a piece of my it's just kind of a way to keep my dad around. And I don't know, I love the logo. My brother-in-law sent it like within 10 minutes, and it was absolutely perfect. Like no change, like it was, and it's him. You show my nieces and nephews and his kids, and we say, who's that? And they say, "Oh, it's Grandpa. That's Grandpa." And they know right away who it was. And they were literally like 2 years old. So it's amazing. It's him in a cartoon form. So anyways, that's
Wow,
kind of,
dude, I mean, I don't know. Maybe people need a moment. I know I do, dude. That's deep. I love that.
it's, yeah.
Really, that's what it's all about. That's where we all came from. This is where it all started. That kind of passion that's been passed on in memory of someone who showed us something that we can't forget. And oh, dude, that's awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Going on, we could go on and on about that, but I know people want to learn a little bit more about the product itself. So as I said, it is a cut bait. It is alewife. Is there a particular time of year where cut bait in Lake Ontario is more of a go-to than say other months?
Yeah, so with the salmon derbies coming up, a lot of people use cut bait throughout the summer as the water kind of warms up a little bit. So, but you can actually use it all year. Cut bait works all year. You can use it in all Great Lakes for salmon. They use it in Georgian Bay quite often, actually. They use it in Lake Michigan. People in Lake Michigan have been catching some really, really big fish with it. Lake Ontario as well. But mainly it really, really starts to pick up as the water starts to warm a little bit. So the surface temperatures start to warm. So basically from now, kind of end of May, June, all the way into August, it works. That it's kind of one of the go-to baits for, you see lots of pictures being taken of big fish. It's to really target those big fish specifically. And with the derbies coming up this year, there's some really big derbies on Lake Ontario this year. That's what we're going for. We're going for that number one fish, the top prize, the big one. We're going for the big fish. So we want to win. We want to win the $100,000. We want to win a Toyota truck. So that's what we're out here for. We're grinding for those big tais. So, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then listen, when it comes to that, and we could discuss, and I'm not sure how willing you are, because I know there's a lot of secrets out there when it comes to you salmon anglers, and in how you rig them, certain things that you put with them to entice, how you put them on certain enticers.
Yeah. I can actually show you. I actually brought a couple like things down just to show you how to open the, what you're going to see when you buy a package of our bait. And I'll show you some cool custom stuff that we started doing as well. There's only like a handful of people that have seen this stuff, and really excited to show you guys. They're going to be in limited quantities, available in limited quantities. But I'll show you the kind of the colors and the reasons why we came out with these colors. So this is the natural. You can kind of see it there. So sorry, this is the natural, and that's the package there.
Nice.
You can see that the scales are in. They're precision cut. You can see how they're tapered and precision cut. So that cut actually helps the bait roll properly and consistently. So you can see the shape of the cut. That's what we've done recently with that. And then we also have the glow bait. So I'll show you what the glow bait does and how it works. So right now you can see that it's kind of just looks like a regular kind of piece of cut bait.
Yep.
You can see there. We also have these lights too. These are really cool. So these actually help you charge. They help you charge anything glow on your boat. So your glow spoons, your glow flashers, and also your glow meat. So they come in a box. They come with a battery charger. So they come with a charger, and the battery is really special. It's a 3.7 volt lithium battery, rechargeable battery. It's bigger than a double A. It's they use it in high powered flashlights, which is what this is. They use it in like vape pens and stuff like that. So there's really, really powerful battery. So basically you got to take the plastic off the battery so the contacts hit. We'll throw it in, and I'll show you what this does to the glow bait once you just hover over it. And anything glow, really, it's unbelievable. So here's the meat here. So the flashlight is on, and you can see right away how the bait is glowing. Glowing. You know what? I'll turn off the lights.
So Anthony, while you shut off the lights, and I'm telling you, this is wow. I want to put on some Barry Manilow now. Look at this. Oh, we got glow sticks. All we're missing is the ecstasy. I will say this. In regards to what kind of flashlight you need, can any UV flashlight work for this, or only your special light?
Oh, no, any flashlight can work. This one, okay. Yeah, any flashlight can work. But honestly, these are really, really good. There's a different light wave that come off of these UV flashlights, and it actually charges the glow like instantly. If you compare it to even like pure salmon guys that toss spoons off the piers at night, they started picking up on these lights, and they absolutely love them. So there's different like flash boxes that they were using before, or you use your cell phone or just a regular light. You kind of have to hold it there for a little bit longer. Where this is literally instant. You touch the anything glow with this, and it just lights up instantly. So I'll show you even on a spin doctor here. So like you can kind of see. I don't know if you can tell, but there you go. You can kind of see what I mean? Like, yeah, it's hard to tell with the light, but anyways, it literally lights up instantly, and it's really, really cool. Like, it works. Great.
Yep.
It works great for all spoons. There's even downrigger weights that are glow in the dark these days. So really, really convenient. It's compact. You can throw it in your pocket and fish all day. It's got a rubber seal on it, so it's waterproof as well, and a wrist strap, so you can keep it on your wrist when you're at the back of the boat rigging and throwing baits down and getting ready for the day. So I'll show you some. I don't know if I'm going over time here, but I'll show you some other baits that we have. So we came out with some custom colors, and I just showed you this spin doctor here. This is a popular pattern. The white with green dot, or even a chrome with green dot, or green dots in general, is a really popular pattern for big fish on Lake Ontario. So we came out with a green dot with a green dot glow in the dark, which is really, really cool to match up nicely with your and you can see how that's to match up nicely with your flashers. Really, really cool stuff. And like for me, like as a hardcore fisherman, I like this. Like this gets me going. I love it. And then we have a blueberry muffin. So this is really, I'll show you. You can kind of see that it's purple and green, but you can see when I light it up here.
Holy smokes!
So yeah, so it's like this is like really, really cool stuff. So we got, it takes a lot of time to do this as well. And I'll show you what it looks like. Here's another one. So this is a really popular color when the sun is really high and when you just want to agitate those kings. It's called Coho Killer, and there's a few different companies that make it. Spin Doctor makes one. It's basically chartreuse with orange, and that's what we wanted to replicate here. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. So this, like, yeah, it lights up really. There you go. You can kind of see it now.
Wow.
Yeah, so really, really cool stuff. We got those customs, and I'll show you how it works inside a bait head if you guys are okay.
Well, that's one of the questions is, could you please show us how to rig one of these?
Yeah.
baits?
Yeah. Okay. So here's a piece of that cut bait that I just showed you guys. So I pulled it out of a package. You can see like it's glowing like crazy in my hand here. So what you do is you take a meathead, and this is a Rise Davies meathead. These are made in this is a Canadian company from the West Coast. A lot of guys from the West Coast use it. There's a peg in it, so I'm just going to take it out. So you basically take the meat and see the head, and you slide the meat right into the bait head. You can kind of see that, and see how it fits right in, snug right up in there. The way it's tapered and shaped, the bait slides right in, and then you take this peg that's here, and you put it through the little hole, and so it holds the bait head like that. So it holds the bait like that, and you can see here. I'll shine the light on it again just to show you how it lights up.
And you have these rigs, like you have these that is in addition to your cut bait, Anthony?
These meatheads, no. So I work with a whole bunch of different manufacturers, and our baits work in every single manufacturer out there's meathead right now. So they work really well in, say, John King meatheads, Bayrad meatheads, Rise Davies meatheads. There's Hot Fish meatheads that they work well in. There's a whole ton of different Musclehead meatheads, which is a Michigan-based company. Diabolical meatheads, and we I've worked closely and tested a lot of these meatheads and designed the shape of our cuts to make sure that they work in all of those different meatheads. So yeah, we're really happy about it, and I'll show you. That's kind of
incredible.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, so you can see the shine there from the scales and how we do it.
Now, does it matter if you are setting your rods up? And this might be going into too much detail, but if you're setting up your downriggers, and obviously you're downrigging for these salmon, do you like the scales out or in, or does
like in the meathead?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it matters. Okay. And even like a lot of people get hung up on scales, and you got to have all the scales like all over the bait. If you look at what's out there and you look at your flashers, like your flasher does not have scales on it. This doesn't have scales on it. It's a color. It glows in the dark. MC Rockets, it's a bait that's been around for quite a while. Catches a lot of big fish. No scales on the MC Rockets. It does glow in the dark though. And then that's actually what we wanted to do with this bait. So this is the reason why I loved Rockets at the time, was because it glowed in the dark, perfect for low light conditions, perfect for deep water. And I wanted to make actual meat glow in the dark, which is why we came up with this. So yeah, I forget where I was going with that. But anyways,
well, listen, you've been talking about it for about 5 minutes. How long does that glow last once you light it up on either your hard products or your soft products, like your meat?
Yeah, so the meat will glow for like 2 hours. So if you guys know Moonshine spoons, this is the same glow that's used in Moonshine spoons. So this literally glows for 2 hours. It's unbelievable, and any touch of light really will charge it. Like, you know, even if you keep it out on the dash of your boat or on the deck of your boat for a little bit and throw it down, it will be charged and it will hold a charge. You know, when you're fishing down deep and you want that bait to be seen by the king.
Now, we might be getting a little bit too much into detail, but Christina's asking, where would you put the hook on that cut bait? In the middle, closer to the end, near the front?
Yeah, so actually the actual package has instructions on it. Because I was a beginner too, and I didn't know how to do it, but there's instructions, and there's a little, oh, there it is, this side. There you go. You can see the hook there. That's how I place my hook. I like to fish with a single treble at the back. I find it's a little more stealthy than fishing with, they call it a tournament tie, and that's a treble and another like octopus hook just mounted just above the treble. I find what happens when you use that type of rig is that it actually shreds up the bait a little bit when the hook points touch the meat surface. So I like to mount the meat. Or sorry, I like to peg the meat, and I'll show you. I got an actual rigged meat rig in my other hand here. I'll show you what I do there. But so I peg it just so the hook points are just past the point of the tail. So like if you're looking at like just past here. And what happens is if you watch underwater video, and I've done a lot of underwater footage and video, trolling the cut bait and watching how fish react to it and how they swipe at it. So they follow it. Sometimes they just come in from the side and smash it right away. Sometimes they follow it and track it, and they're watching it, and you can watch them come up, and they'll follow the bait. They get the scent of it. They kind of get the action, and they'll swipe at it. Sometimes they don't get the meat fully in their mouth or the lures fully in their mouth, which is why you get some knockoffs or why you get some like short bites. And I find that mounting the hook just at the back there, it helps avoid some of that. So you get those swipes, and you actually hook up on them too, which is good. You got to use really sharp hooks, but yeah, that's where I mount it. So here's another meat rig. This is an old school one, but wanted to show you how to rig it and how to peg it. So okay, so I'll just
so as we are doing this, we have Shane Thombs coming on after Anthony, and everything you've learned about cut bait, Shane is going to take it one step further, and he's actually going to take us out on the water. He spent many years guiding and chartering a whole host of clientele, and I know he's sitting back and watching this as I am.
Really knowledgeable guy. So yeah, listen to what he says. So this is kind of what a meat rig looks like. So they call this a meat rig. What it has on these, like a typical meat rig would have 3 Twinkies kind of like this. They're like a small little fly, and they're spaced out on the line. And this would clip on, the front of this line would clip on to the back of a flasher, or like a flasher. You can even run them clean, but most people run them behind a flasher. And then at the very tail end of this is a meathead, which is where our bait goes. And yeah, and it goes into here. And I'll show you what we do and how we mount it. So basically what you do is when you're trolling, so you take the bait, you throw it into the meathead. Okay, you peg it in. There's a little hole here. You put the toothpick in, you break it off, peg it in. And then you adjust the length of your hooks here by adjusting the line.
Interesting.
And you can see here the way that this is a pre-rigged one, really old school, but you can see here it actually fits perfectly. The hook is just at the back of the bait, and that's kind of where you want to peg it. And so when I say peg it and set it, there's another little hole at the back of this meathead right here. And you put a toothpick in there once you have the length or the where you want to set your hook. You put another toothpick there, you break it off, and it will hold the hook at that specific point on the rig. And then you just fish, and then yeah, you basically take a hit. Oh, the other cool thing that I didn't really talk about is that our bait, the way it's treated, it actually lasts like hours in the water. You can literally take this out. It will not fall apart. It will not wash out. It doesn't get all mushy. You can take it out and throw it back in the package if you don't get a hit on it. So that's another really cool feature about our.
And can you refreeze it? And it's okay the next time you go out?
You know what? I typically just put it right back in the refrigerator. It will not rot. It will not spoil. It does not go bad the way our treatment process is. So you don't need to worry about it spoiling or, opening up your cooler and it smells, like it's been there. It smells like it's rotten. So you don't need to worry about that. You'll always have the consistent smell of the alewife. And if you smell it, you can compare it to, say, ballyhoo or even to a herring. It does smell different. It's a different fish. It does smell different 100%. But that's what alewives smell like. And not a lot of people know what alewives smell like because they don't use alewife cut bait until now. This is literally the only one that's out on the market right now, which is kind of cool.
Well, listen, I think Steve Shaw said it best. I'm jaw dropped over this product. I see Shane has pretty much thrown in the towel, and he's sitting there with his hands up like there's nothing left to say. why is he going to come on after this? Like, he pretty much described the whole thing. Thanks so much, Anthony, for ruining my segment. No, I'm kidding.
No.
This is
wealth of knowledge.
phenomenal. And what I think is really cool is, as Christina alluded to, she got your product up at Moxie's up in Sudbury.
Oh, nice.
Now you're
just sent them some new product yesterday, so there's gonna be some more bacon up there probably by Monday for everyone up in that neck of the woods.
I also have a couple other people that I can get you in touch with as well out on the West Coast on the Oregon side. You mentioned Oregon. Eric Swanson is a good friend of mine that I spent some time with. He's got a great charter
Awesome.
setup as well, and is out every single day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. So I'll get you in touch with him. But this is the last thing we're going to talk about. And of course, we are not ones to beat our chest by any means, but I'll tell you, we take pride in the fact that when we build our team and we have people like yourself, and I want to thank right off the bat, because I know she's mending, Michelle Avery. She got us in touch with one another. Can't thank her enough for making that hookup. And now it's managed to, I want to say explode, but it certainly increased your business and your reach by getting involved with CFN. So it's a win-win. We're so glad to have you, Anthony. And,
thank you for all your support. We really appreciate it. And, you got some really great people that are part of this team. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. And, I really appreciate it.
Right on. Well, thanks so much for doing this, my friend. And we'll be in touch.
Pleasure.
You take care and good luck. Stay safe, my friend.
Thank you very much. You too. All
right, Anthony. And in closing, here's a last little video before we bring in Shane Thombs from FINtastic, sportfishing.com. Well, there he is, Shane Thombs. How you doing, my friend?
Not too bad. How about yourself, Scotty?
Well, I'm glad you're still talking to me, because after that, rendition Anthony just gave us, is there anything left to know?
No, he's done it all. No. Yeah, no, he's a great guy, and we've talked many times at the shows and whatnot. Anthony, he's an excellent guy. I love his product too as well. And, it really beats the old way that we used to do it, which was adding food color to our brine. Well, that's all fine and dandy when you have a nice colored bait, but don't ever spill that brine inside your boat.
And, a lot of people have said that. I think what is it? Posky? Posky is one company that has come up and is quite popular, and everybody raves about it. But they have all told me that if you make the ill-fated mistake of spilling it anywhere, be happy with whatever it turns into, because you've got it for life. So
you got it.
You're 100% right. Interesting product. I know a lot of us who are not very long in the tooth when it comes to targeting chrome are blown away by it. I know Legacy member Steve Shaw was just like me, jaw dropped. And as I said, I've seen videos. I put little snippets together for Anthony, but I never actually got to see it up close like we did tonight. But when it comes to your charter company, and we're going to get into how it all started and what branched off from your passion to your profession, but when it comes to that product, how does that help you target salmon in a way that benefits your clients?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the advent of getting into cut bait fishing has certainly advanced a significant amount, especially in recent, I would say, 20 years. Before that, it was all, using spoons and a little bit of dodger and fly. And certainly, things have changed so dramatically over the past 35, 40 years.
And you know what? We're going to get to that change, because I know you've spent a lot of time on the water. I know David Speaker talks about how you've seen certain changes and how the fishery has evolved. And I want to thank David for getting you and I in touch, because this is the first time you and I are meeting as well. Let's step back. I was on your YouTube channel. I saw videos that were posted roughly 9-10 years ago. We'll go even further back. What got you into fishing? Who got you into fishing? And is there one story you could share with us that was the aha moment that got you hooked forever.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do one maybe a little bit more detailed. It was probably when I was about 13 years old, and camping was a big thing in my family. Going up north camping, and my dad was also, you know, a leisure fisherman, bringing at least a fishing rod or two in the camper, and certainly going up north catching northern pike right from shore, even Lake Superior and catching lake trout off the rocks and Pancake Bay. You know, these are the memories that had planted a seed for me in the early years. And when I went to high school, as a matter of fact, when I went to high school, my passion for fishing had already started. I met up with a bunch of great friends, still to this day. You know, they're my best friends. One's a CO, one's works for the Ministry of Natural Resources. You know, a number of them are still in the community here in the Niagara region, and we often get out fishing every once in a while. But we all grew up fishing together, and that included, you know, every day, you know, pedaling our bikes down to the local fishing pond and catching largemouth bass, and going out on our little tin boats and trying to catch brown trout along the shoreline, Lake Ontario. You know, this is the stuff that, you know, creates a foundation for fishing in our life, and I certainly have, you know, fond memories of that as being the seed that was planted for sure.
Incredible. Well, I think you just emulated a lot of our stories and pathways to how we have come to where we are right now, whether it is in the audience and participating in CFN, or, you know, here's sitting here talking to the likes of yourself. Whatever path it was that we took, the journey are pretty similar in terms of that journey to passion and the passion for angling. Thanks for sharing that. Now, you then take it one step further. You decide, you know what? I might have something to offer people when it comes to a great day out on the water. And you know what? I might actually be able to make a few bucks. When did you make that transition from weekend warrior to professional guide?
Well, it's actually right around the time of the end of my high school years and going into college. And during my summers, I worked as a deckhand on a charter boat at a 50 point. And it was affiliated even back then with our local tackle shop, Grimsby Tackle. And so a lot of the bookings went through the tackle shop, and we had upwards to about 80 to 100 trips a year. In the spring was our busiest time. We often were on the water 7 days of the week. If the weather allowed us to be out there, we were out there, and fishing the South Shore, from, you know, our home base being at a 50 point in Stony Creek, and fish from Hamilton all the way down to the Niagara River, the Niagara Bar. So, you know, I really have you know, started my time in the charter business as a deckhand. Things have changed so dramatically, Scotty. I can't tell you how many things have you know, evolved since those days. One of the things certainly was the clientele that we had. You know, we're often, you know, taking folks out that you would necessarily know what you were getting into when you were counting the number of cases of beer that were coming on board. All right.
Yes, because I do believe a time in this industry where
it was different.
Wilson's and Labatt's were the largest sponsors when it come to, you know, and we miss that. You know, no offense, not that, you know, we don't like to not indulge. We do. We you know, we'll sit back and tell a few tales with a few suds. But obviously, it's the image, and things change, things evolve, and I'm so glad you got that.
It has evolved. Exactly that, Scotty. And as a matter of fact, one of the premise of starting my own charter business was I didn't want any of that stuff. None of it. I don't want to babysit. I don't want to babysit drunks. I want to fish. And I'm doing this part-time. I'm going to do it on my weekends, maybe after work. And one of the most important things for me is the experience. And so, although, obviously with me not allowing drinking on board, it certainly has changed I would say, the clientele that I had back in the old days as a deckhand. Now on my own boat, I'm sharing the boat with great people that want to be there to enjoy the fishing, the experience. It's often families, father, son, daughter, the wife, so you have a combination of usually families or good friends and friends that just want to go out and fish and enjoy the experience. You don't need the alcohol. What do they say? You leave the beer on the pier and the water on the water, right?
Amen.
That's been working for me. That's my clientele, and I enjoy that group of people that like that the best.
And you know what? It's not to say that we're denouncing the use of or the indulgence of alcohol by any means. Everybody likes to sit back, as I mentioned, and swale a beer and tell a story. But just as Shane mentioned, there's a time and a place, and out in the water is not the time or the place. So leave it on shore. And we're not going to pass the passion of angling on when we can barely stand up or put two words together. So, keep that in mind next time you're taking a young'un out fishing. Make sure that it is the total experience. And they're not having to babysit, as Shane just alluded to.
Yeah.
No one likes that. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, in regards to when you started back almost a decade ago, if not longer, and you've been doing this guiding, and you've started with FINtastic Sport Fishing. I've noticed based on your videos, you have pretty much gone all over most of Southern Ontario when it comes to targeting all kinds of species of fish. You've been out on the Bay of Quinte, you've been down on Lake Erie. Is Lake Ontario near and dear to your heart when it comes to available fisheries in your area?
It is that and Lake Erie. So being that I live in Niagara, I'm central to, maybe I'm a bit biased, but the two best Great Lakes in the world. Obviously there's 5 Great Lakes, but if you were to cluster all lakes together, I would say Lake Ontario and Lake Erie being the best. And I fish a lot of Lake Erie as well during the summer for walleye. And then I transitioned into the bass and the perch. It's something that a little bit different from my charter, the arrangement of my charter business and the vessel that I use. I operate a Ranger 620.
Nice.
And so that I have that multi-species capability, fishing both Lake Ontario for salmon and trout, and then shifting gears and going bass fishing the next day on Lake Erie, or going walleye fishing. I have great flexibility with a trailerable boat. I can get to the port that is on fire for fishing, and we have a great time while we're out there. So yeah, it's a bit of I guess from the perspective of a lot of anglers, the 20-foot or 16 to 20-foot size range is your typical vessel size for most guys getting into this fishing. So I somewhat relate directly to that group of folks, and it gives me that opportunity to kind of share some of my experiences with, let's say, a smallish style boat. Often charter boats are often the bigger vessels, and certainly that's I'd love to have a big vessel like that as well. But I think I can relate quite nicely to a lot of the folks that are getting started into this fishing in Lake Ontario, Lake Erie trolling, and some of the seminars that we do, and some of the on the water clinics and opportunities that I have to share with question and answer periods and stuff of that sort, often is about rigging smaller boats and getting it ready for trolling big water. And yes, you can catch big fish in big water with smaller size boats. So you're not limited by the size of boat to get big fish.
Well, I've been on a boat like yours with my good buddy Captain Kevin Swartz down in Port Clinton. I loved it. It handles waves, wind, a good time, and lots of fish very, very well. But for anybody who is booking a charter with you, as great as the boat is there anything that you can give folks a hint on what they should be bringing if they do book a charter with you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly the comforts that you'd like is obviously, get dressed for the weather. So mine is an open style boat. So if there's going to be a drizzle or something of that sort, bring some rain gear or dress warm because often, I start my season early April and, the conditions are often winter like. It's cold. So get dressed for that.
No.
It's definitely sunglasses, sunscreen, that sort of thing. I like to use a buff as well, just to get the wind off of my cheeks, especially after a bit of a run. It certainly covers up your face a little bit. It helps out a lot. But yeah, I would say dress for the elements, bring some refreshments, water, pop, whatever it is that you'd like, some snacks, and bring your camera or your phone now, obviously, with lots of space so you can get some pictures. And a cooler so you can bring your fish home.
Awesome. And a lot of folks forget that, when it comes to filleting fish or preparing fish, gutting fish, a lot of your charter captains will do that. I'm pretty sure, Shane, you're probably no different, I'm assuming.
Well, it depends on the scenario. So often within a booking, so for an example, a 6-hour trip, if we're working to get your limit, let's say, for an example, sometimes that limit comes at a very fast pace, especially when we're on Lake Erie for walleye. And yes, I will spend some time to clean your fish so that you can go home and you don't have to worry about cleaning it. But sometimes, on the other hand, you work to get your fish first. And we're often using that whole 6-hour time to do so. And that often doesn't mean that we have a chance to clean your fish. It's unfortunate, a lot of the facilities that we have in Southern Ontario, they don't provide you with fish cleaning stations. And I really wish that, our local governments especially would gravitate more to that type of facility. I go to other places, let's say in the United States, some of the great boat ramps that I've been to, they have fish cleaning facilities right there as well. And I just idolize that situation where, as a charter guide, for an example, bringing in your fish, getting it on the table and clean them up for them so that they can go home with their partially prepared fillets. And it would be nice to have those kind of facilities around us, but certainly we don't have that right now.
That's awesome. That's a good point that you bring up, and absolutely, we've been, for both of us, spent a little bit of time on the water, including myself. Yes, you do see a difference when it comes to how they cater to anglers on that side of the border than on this. Hopefully, we can catch up at some point. Talking about the diversity of the fish that you target, and perhaps even how you approach a day, depending on the angler. And I think Sparkus mentioned this the last segment that he came on in regards to his charter. And what he really would love to have is his clients reach out to him and say, what are your expectations? What are your limitations? And by suggesting that, it brings me to the question that David just mentioned. And I think this is perfect segue. So over the years, has your business approach changed based on the fishery? And like, do you fish more for salmon than trout? For walleye, do you go after limits? Do you go after large fish? How does that all play into a day out in the water with FINtastic Sport Fishing?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I got to tell you that that scenario has really morphed over the years, and as fishing, the fishery evolves, certainly the numbers of fish by particular species of fish and the behaviors of those fish will often change the outlook of, as you said, your expectations of catching fish. So I've done a lot of experimenting over the years too, and changing different styles of fishing, or I guess experimenting with different styles of fishing to to maybe capitalize on some types of experiences that are not necessarily common. One of those would be jigging for lake trout. So there's not many guides that actually take clients out to go on Lake Ontario jigging for lake trout. So you're using spinning rods, not unlike what you would use for smallmouth bass on Lake Erie, using jigging spoons or tube jigs, and we'll be catching lake trout upwards to almost 15, 16 pounds on a spinning rod. It's a blast. And so that's one example of something a little bit different. Another one is, a number of years ago, we had an amazing population of rainbow trout, and our offshore bite was incredible. So often, we were under power, going over top of and past what we would normally be fishing waters for Chinook salmon, going offshore and catching rainbow trout. And the fishing was phenomenal. You're talking 20, 40 bites in a trip.
Wow.
It's that's changed now. We have fewer rainbow trout, for an example, offshore. And now we're starting to migrate back into those mid-depth type of scenarios, catching Chinook salmon, mixing in with the odd rainbow trout, maybe the coho salmon and lake trout. And so, you do adjust based on not only the conditions or the time of year, but also where the fishery is at, what the population of those particular species are at. When we go to Lake Erie, there's another example. Our walleye population on Lake Erie, I heard a statistic of 151 million walleye in Lake Erie is estimated.
It was a tough bite on the eastern end of it last year. I will say that.
It was.
A lot of anglers mentioned what a tough bite that was last year, and they're hoping not for a repeat this year, because on the western side, as my buddy Kevin will tell you, that bite never seems to slow down when it comes to Lake Erie. But have you seen that fishery, in addition to Lake Ontario, evolve into anything different than it was, say, when you started 10 years ago?
Absolutely. So one of the things, Scotty, is the walleye fishing on Lake Erie has two different dynamics. One is more of a shallow reef-based fish, fishing shallower, being less than 30 feet of water, let's say, even throughout the summer, fishing in that shallower water. And then you have your offshore pelagic fish, the migratory fish, coming from as far as the Western Basin all the way into the Eastern Basin. So those migratory fish are usually very plentiful. Now, you're spot on with your analogy of what happened last year being a soft bite in the Eastern Basin. And I'll give you a bit of a background on that. So typically our weather patterns this time of the year is somewhat what we have right now. Your typical spring comes in, not very fast. This particular spring, for an example, is what I would say is a normal spring, especially in the recent month or two. But, last year, it warmed up extremely fast. In June, we had more warm degree days, growing degree days, we call it, for the farmers. We had more of that in the month of June than we normally would. And we also had very strong west and southwest winds that pushed a lot of that warm surface water into the Eastern Basin. And this was prior to much of the mass migration that comes from the west to the east. And what we figured was, because all that warm water built up in the Eastern Basin, as they came around Long Point, they met up with that warm water and turned around and went to either stayed in the Central Basin or in the west. And we never got those fish to come to the east, those migratory fish. So luckily, we still had this other ability to fish for our walleyes in shallower. But we're working hard. We were not necessarily getting limits for everybody on the boat throughout a 6-hour trip, for an example. We're working hard. But, it's still an interesting, fishing is not always about catching. It's about figuring it out. And this is, as a charter boat captain, I say is probably the biggest driver. If you're really looking at how many fish are in the box is what makes a good day, you're probably not in the right business, because really, as a charter boat captain, you should be, I would say, challenged every time that you go out to try to better your situation, your success. And a success could be 1 or 2 fish. On a tough bite, a 1 or 2 fish day could be a success. And I think as fishermen in general, that's exactly the case. We often can't have expectations of numbers that go into the box, but rather tailor your expectations to what the scenario is whenever you're going out fishing.
And I think words to live by, and I'm not even a charter or a guide myself, but they are words to live by even as an angler, that you try to better yourself each and every time you get out there, learn your water, learn some of those subtleties when it comes to what you are presented. And as Jim always says, stop doing what's not working. Like, broaden your horizon, open your eyes, turn the page. If you do that, you'll become, in my opinion, and as you just mentioned, a better angler because of it, or perhaps guide or charter captain. As David just said, Shane works very extremely hard. I have not been out on a boat. I will say this, and to Captain Ed and Captain Kevin and James Mathias, Tony, there's a whole whack of you guys that I've had the pleasure of being out in the water. And Shane, I'm sure you're no different based on what David is saying. You guys work so hard. You'll do a pass, you'll do a run, and all of a sudden, you know what? Let's change it up. And it's almost like that impatient, father who's waiting in the delivery room for his child to be born. You can't sit still. You gotta, go out and smoke a cigar, get on your phone, do whatever. You guys are not patient with just sitting back and letting nature take its course. You are constantly working. Tell us a little bit about what you aim for when you're out on the water, as you sort of alluded to when it comes to the whole experience, but what you will do to get the utmost from that experience.
Yeah, I Scotty, a lot of it has a lot to do with, you start off your day with an idea of what you might go, where you're going to go in the lake, geographically, what spots you're going to hit, and what your initial baits will be going in the water. So, Anthony talked a lot about, first thing in the morning, we were putting out a lot of glow in the dark stuff and trying to gain the attention of those salmon, get their attention, come into the spread right nice and tight, right near the cannonballs or near the divers, and you work those fish because they're very aggressive. But as the day progresses, there's, I'm going to say 99% chance that what you ran first thing in the morning will change. It's going to change. And adapting to when that change is going to happen, what baits are you going to put out next, what types of rigs that you're going to be using to catch those fish. Here, for an example, this is a good friend of mine, Adrian Fleming, who used to own Grimsby Tackle, and we were just out for a fun day off of Grimsby, doing an offshore bite actually around this time of year. And he's on a lead core rod, and he's whining. He's complaining about how much line is out there, and he's cranking on a big king coming in. But this is kind of one of those scenarios where we have what now is available to us, all sorts of different types of apparatus that we can use to catch fish. I mentioned lead core line, and this is a 10-color lead core line, for an example. Gets a bait way out away from the boat, and if it's on a planer board, way out off to the side of the boat into what is called that quiet, stealthy water, right? Where if the Chinooks are a bit spooked from the boat, they'll go out away from the boat, and you can often catch them with these types of apparatus. So maybe first thing in the morning, those fish are nipping right at the cannonball. They're getting close, right underneath the boat, and they're not wary at all. But as the sun comes up, and they start to spread out a little bit, and sometimes you may not even mark them. Your screen's going blanks, but your lead cores off to the side on planer boards are still firing. So these are just those types of adaptations as you're going along to make adjustments, and you're trying to evaluate when those those types of changes are going to happen throughout the course of your trip. And you're watching, all of the different cues. Are you seeing birds feeding? Are you reading on your graph more bait now? Is the bait still balled up nicely going across the graph, or is it spread out like a pancake? Are you seeing the fish down deeper in the water column, or are they still coming through your spread? These are the kinds of cues that you're always looking for. We're also paying very, very close attention to our down speed. So we have probes on our downriggers that provide us with the data, the information of not only temperature of wherever the cannonball sits in the water column, but also the speed that we're going as the current. So, we're using our GPS speed sometimes. However, there's always a current that we're always trying to combat or trying to mimic to get the proper speed in our presentation to go at the right speed. So the down speed, where our tension on down speed is probably 2 to 1 of our sonar. You look at your sonar, but you're just staring at the speed. Is it right? A tenth of a mile an hour too fast. I got to slow down. These are the things that, as a captain, you're constantly moving, and as you change direction, all of these things are changing again, and you're just reevaluating. And it really kind of puts a different spin on it. I often talk about folks that, they say, I hate trolling. I say, okay, well, why do you hate trolling? Because it catches a lot of fish. They'll say, well, it's boring. Huh, interesting. I'm not sure that it's boring. If you really get into it and your passion is about trying to figure this out, we're challenging ourselves, right? We're challenging ourselves as anglers, and if we can do that each and every time we're out, whether it is something that you may not think is as interesting as trolling, challenge yourself, see what it's all about, come up with a guide and see what they're doing, because I'm telling you, it's not boring, Scotty. It's not boring.
Listen, I love all kinds of fishing. It doesn't matter what it is. I've been out jigging cod. I've been halibut fishing, where you're trying to hover, a 4 and 5 pound ball, in 100+ feet of water. I haven't done it all. I still like to get into some fly fishing, but the fishing that I have done, there is not one that I have not enjoyed. I honestly, when it comes to trolling, what that allows us to do is to have great conversations. You know what? The time between fish is how you get to know your clientele. It's how do you get to know your captain, your surroundings, your story, your journey, your passion, whatever it is. So, wasted time is wasted time. Take the opportunity that if you are trolling and it is a bit of a slow bite, get to know the people around you, get to know your captain, ask some questions. And sometimes you'll be interested to find out how small this community is by the people that you share in common. There's a whole host of stuff. So yes, I'm with you 100%, Shane. Trolling is only boring to those who don't take advantage of that time. Bunch of questions in here, and I want to try and get to them all real quick. David's asking, any thoughts on the Atlantic salmon fishery?
What Atlantic salmon fishery?
Okay. You know what? That was about as quick as it possibly could be. This is a great question. I'm so glad that Jason asked this because with those walleye not coming into the Eastern Basin, we were still seeing huge clouds of bait fish, huge clouds. And without those top predators coming in there and sort of nipping off the numbers, my concern is that you're going to have a bloom. And as great as the water temperatures may be this year, you may end up with a situation where these fish are going to be eating just so well that perhaps the bite is going to be difficult yet again this year, just because there's so much for them to eat.
Well, it's possible. We've seen that in past years as well, where they've completely gorged themselves on smelt. Smelt is, I would say, the top prey fish of Lake Erie. Contrary to Lake Ontario, as you probably heard from Anthony earlier on, that the alewife was Lake Ontario's primary prey fish for especially the salmonids. But in Lake Erie, it's the smelt. And along the lines of what you were seeing on the graph, there's year classes that we also got to consider. Are we talking about young of the year smelt versus adult smelt? In that scenario, are we looking at smelt that are too small? So you're marking lots, but are they maybe not the primary forage for those walleyes in Lake Erie until they get to about that 4-inch or better size? So you got to consider those types of things that we do on Lake Ontario as well. Especially our offshore bite, we get a lot of those young alewife. You see, clouds of bait fish, and everyone's saying we got no bait fish problems, blah blah blah. But you know what? Are we really looking at all adult alewife, or are we looking at different year classes? And if those year classes are different, what is it that those fish are foraging on? We know that Chinook salmon love mature alewife. They love the big alewife versus the smaller alewife. But rainbow trout, on the other hand, or even coho salmon or younger Chinook salmon, they'll target the younger alewife, let's say 1 or 2 year old alewife. Well, 1 year old alewife, I guess. But so there's a lot of factors to that. You could be marking bait, but maybe question what is that bait that you're looking at? Is it different year classes?
Great food for thought, and that definitely gets us thinking. A couple more questions here before we get to what we are going to unveil, which is a fantastic giveaway opportunity for our community. So stay tuned to that. Bill, great question. When it comes to in terms of conservation, I know it's maybe difficult when you're targeting deeper fish, but do you try to utilize size limits on your boat? For instance, big walleye are caught. Do you try to emphasize the need to throw those back?
Yeah, Bill, awesome question. And this is, I've been really kind of on my soapbox about this, especially for Lake Erie. And I've talked to Paul Pallas about this as well. We are both exactly on the same page. Go out, catch your limit, go back home. And I say that because often what we do, especially in the Eastern Basin, by the time that those fish have migrated down into the Eastern Basin, the mass school of those fish coming down our offshore bite, we already have a thermocline that's down 60 feet. And yes, those walleyes will be just above the thermocline, some below, but we're talking about pulling walleyes that are far in excess of 30 feet down. And when they come up, they have a very poor chance of being able to regulate themselves. They're swim bladders. They're not like salmon and trout where they can expel the air from their pneumatic duct in the back of their throat. Their swim bladder will expand, and it prevents them from being able to, especially after a long, tiresome fight on, let's say, lead core line, those fish will have a very difficult time being able to swim all the way back down 60 feet. So, Scotty, I've been kind of saying this to a lot of guys, get your 6 fish per person and go home. Don't pick on those fish and try to throw them back in and try to catch, a bigger fish and upgrade and so on and so forth. Don't do it. You're hurting the fishery. Let's leave those get your 6 fish and then turn around and go back home and enjoy your lunch, because that's what's happening is we catch our limits by 10 o'clock in the morning and we're home by lunch after cleaning up the fish. So enjoy the fishery as it is right now, as good as it is these years, because it's not always been like this. Scotty, we've had some times where the walleye fishing has been tough, and to get a 6-hour trip in certainly didn't mean that we got limit for everybody.
Incredible. And yes, Bill, I concur. That is a fantastic answer. And after that kind of lecture speech, FYI, fun fact, whatever you want to call it, it's hard to find a segue to the next topic, next question. So I'm not going to. That is a mic drop. Very well done, Shane. And it's something that we aspire to here at CFN. It's all about the fish and trying to conserve them as best we can. as much as we love to eat fish, catch your limit, limit your catch. And when it comes to those big fish, do your best to try and release them.
Yeah.
They are, in a lot of cases, in some cases, not a lot of cases, they're maintaining your fishery, especially when it comes to the walleye. Now, let's get to this incredible giveaway. And I tell you, Shane, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. As I said, we just met. You've just become familiar with our CFN community, and you're going to get even more familiar with this giveaway and this opportunity that you're giving up. And what I am going to suggest, it's going to be no different than it was with Sparkus. It will be one winner, and with that one winner, you are obligated. In fact, we are downright enforcing you to take an angler that's 18 years of age or younger with you. So whoever wins this, you must take a young angler with you. And how you are going to qualify is very similar to what you did with Sparkus's charter. We are going to make a post tomorrow. Look for it. It'll be on CFN. It might have the logo, so we'll play the video again so you can see enough of that logo from Shane. When you see that logo, and it's going to appear here in many frames of the video, when you see that post, all we need you to do is to tag as many people as you possibly can that would love an opportunity to go out with Shane and experience some fishing of their own. And as I said, as we have learned, Shane knows a thing or two, and he knows exactly what his clientele is looking to achieve by a charter, and will do his best to accommodate. However, it doesn't end there. Shane also has another opportunity for our runner-up. Take it away, Shane.
I'd like to provide a gift certificate for $50 to my favorite tackle shop, Grimsby Tackle. Yeah, Grimsby Tackle is our local tackle shop, but Scotty, your runner-up has a $50 gift certificate waiting for you. Scotty's going to let me know what your address is, and I'll send this to you. Grimsby Tackle just recently has included some amazing stuff in their store that you might want to use this for. They have a new tracks system now, Canadian-made stuff. It's custom fishing solutions, tracks, and accessories. Go to the Grimsby Tackle Facebook page, follow them. You'll notice that there's a recent video by Martin, who's the new owner of Grimsby Tackle, showing off that product. Also have Fish USA and some of the custom baits, custom colors. It's exclusively at Grimsby Tackle. Nowhere else in Canada can you get the Fish USA custom baits. So check that out as well. And of course, you got all your Wacom tackle stuff in there as well. And you certainly, if you're a troller fishing either Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, or Lake Huron, check out Grimsby Tackle, and they have all sorts of your trolling needs there. So this will be going out to the runner-up, $50.
So a $50 gift certificate to Grimsby Tackle, plus to our winner, a day out on the water with Shane Thombs and FINtastic sportfishing.com for you and an angler that is 18 years old or younger. I can't think of a better opportunity for our CFN community, and I can't thank you enough, Shane. It's been great meeting you. It's been great talking to you, and we could do this all night and forever. We may have to have you on again, but in the meantime, my friend, stay safe. Thanks so much for this opportunity. On behalf of CFN, salut.
Thank you, and good luck to everyone. Stay safe, and let's get out fishing this summer.
Amen. You take care, Shane. Stick around just for a sec. Don't leave, and we'll come right back to you. What a great gent. What a great opportunity. And I invite all of you to stay tuned tomorrow and make sure you tag as many people in the Southern Ontario area. We'd love to be able to open this up, and we will be, as you will find out next week. We're going to have some tackle producers from different areas of Canada that are going to jump in and give us some stories, tell us their journey, their passions, and we're going to get to know our community through TNT Thursdays. And I want to thank Chuck Tarachi for inspiring us to do this with his virtual trade show that has now evolved into TNT. To all my legacy members, Bill, Steve, who have been working hard behind the scenes, and of course to our guests, Shane and Anthony, for coming on here and describing their product, describing their passion, and sharing a story or two. Guys, this is what it's all about on Thursdays. I invite you to join us on Monday, where it's going to be Ladies' Night. Yvonne Brown is going to be joining us with another guest, who is the one and only Adele Dobin from Accessible Angling. In the meantime, stay tuned for Mike and Cliff tonight, talking about the CFN Fish-Off and how we're going to approach our West Coast salmon for the CFN Fish-Off. In the meantime, enjoy your day, enjoy Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday. All the best, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Take care.